Deirdre, thanks very much. I'm joined by the House Majority Leader Eric Cantor of Virginia. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it. And we've got a 2-week reprieve from a government shutdown. Did you guys win round one here?
I think the American people won round one, and because Washington now is taking the first steps toward doing what most people are doing right now, which is tightening the belt, which is learning how to do more with less. And this initial interim step to cut spending is exactly where we need to be heading for the rest of the year, because we need to get our fiscal house in order for there to be an economy where jobs are going to grow. And that's really the intention here, is to get the economy going and get more people back to work.
I know that Speaker Boehner spoke with the President yesterday about the long-term, the full-year budget spending plan, about a long-term CR here. You spoke with Bill Daley, the Chief of Staff at the White House. How far apart are you guys? Are you any closer to a real deal?
Well, my discussions with the White House Chief of Staff yesterday were indicated to me that the White House does not want to see a government shutdown. We Republicans in the House have said all along we want to cut spending and avoid a shutdown, but we need to cut spending just like the American people are. So I do think that there may be a way that we can work together. The problem has been thus far is, Harry Reid in the Senate indicated lately over the last day or so that he may be willing to go with our cuts. And I think today the Senate is going to act to adopt the Republican cuts the way we have proposed them. The White House has indicated that the math of going forward with another $4 billion is something that they were willing to accept for an additional 2 weeks. So if we're already now beginning to talk about the math this way, I'm hopeful that Harry Reid will join us and that we can see some resolution for the remainder of the fiscal year where the American people can begin to see that Washington gets it, that we're going to cut spending.
But you know the math here. Senate Democrats are never going to accept $61 billion in cuts for the remainder of this fiscal year. That's the proposal here in the House. You all are going to have to compromise as well. What's the middle ground here?
Listen, right now the imperative is we got to change the culture in Washington. This week, today, there's going to be resolution on that we've actually begun to change the culture. We are cutting spending at a rate of $2 billion a week. That is one small step towards getting the fiscal house in order. Instead of talking compromise here, we've got to talk about cooperating towards trying to get our fiscal house in order. And that's the imperative, because everywhere we go, I think people are realizing if you get the fiscal house in order, if you start to tackle the deficit, you can address this ailing economy and people can get back to work.
How big a deal is it that the Fed chairman yesterday said the spending cuts, in his view, would basically affect the recovery on the margins?
Well, I think it is a testament to the fact that these cuts are not the draconian, devastating cuts that the critics have said they are. Listen, this is all about going back to 2008 levels. Most Americans really can remember that the sun rose and set in 2008. Just like small businesses, working families across this country have had to do, we're tightening the belt. And I think that Chairman Bernanke's testimony yesterday just reflected the fact that these cuts not only are necessary, but they're not some devastating move that some would say. And I think it is helpful for the debate.
Our audience is focused so much not just on this spending fight, but also on the debt limit fight as well. There are real concerns out there in the markets that someone's going to toy with this, not raise that debt ceiling, and somehow put America at risk of default. Tell us what's going to happen.
Most Americans really do believe that we should pay our bills in this country, and the debt limit vote is a direct correspondence to fiscal mismanagement in the past, dollar for dollar. What we're about here in Washington today, as Republicans, is making sure that we avoid this fiscal mismanagement going forward. Now, the debt limit vote is about things in the past, but in order for us to effectively deal with that question, we have got to cut spending now. We have got to begin to put our vision out as to how we're going to address long-term fiscal challenges in this country, which mean the entitlement programs. But we're going to insist on budget process reforms, spending caps, spending cuts as we go forward before that vote.
All right. Eric Cantor, the Majority Leader here in the House, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. Deirdre, we'll send it back to you in New York.